Welcome to the 78th, is this loud? Is this too loud for you guys back there? Okay, sounds loud up here. Welcome to the 78th annual meeting of the ASB. As we stand here at the front edge of this meeting, it appears to be another excellent meeting. It looks like we'll have over 800 in attendance, and that puts us right in there with the last several years. So I think it's great news for the association. The meeting is happening because of the hard work of the EC. They've worked all year long, and I know that they've interfaced with many of you during the year, that they've given countless hours in dedication to our association. And they're not alone. Sorry, I'm pushing two buttons up here to work two slideshows. I also want to acknowledge all of the hard work of the committees and committee chairs who do incredible work to pull off the meeting every single year. I put this up knowing that you couldn't possibly read through all of these names, and I did it really to illustrate just how many volunteers it takes to pull off an ASB meeting. And so the meeting really wouldn't be possible without volunteerism and the hard work that all of these people do. We really have about 100 volunteer positions to fill, and most of these volunteer positions are 3-year terms. So in any given year, we have about 25 to 30 people rotating off, and we need about that many people rotating onto this committee to keep our association healthy and to keep these meetings as successful as they've been. The other thing that you might be interested to know is that at any given meeting, we typically have about 300 professionals attending, and so it's slightly less than half of the total attendance of the meeting. And so that really means that about a third of our professionals need to be volunteering to help us pull this thing off every single year. So with that, we need to get involved. And so in most of the emails I've sent you over the last few weeks, there's been a Get Involved link, and you can click that link and fill out the Get Involved form, and tell us what you're interested in, and we'd be happy to place you in some service. I need to thank the Marriott here in Montgomery, the Renaissance Marriott, for their work in helping us put the meeting off here. They've been wonderful so far, and I'm sure they'll see us through a great time. I also want to recognize at this time the featured institutions, Troy University and Alabama State University, and we'll be hearing from a couple of administrators from these institutions in just a minute. I've got a few announcements that I need to make while I have your attention. One is that
the development of minority biologists from the Southeast. This is an important message. It's a timely message. It is perhaps a message that we've not outgrown, and we may be meeting again. But I have to say, thank you so much, sir, because I know that my feet have fallen in steps that you've already blazed. Thank you so much. And as my last point of privilege, I also have to say that Dr. Frederick, from your bio and from following you, it looks like you finished the toot. Is that what you call Tuskegee Institute when you were there? The toot, that's right. In fact, a few years before my dad, my whole family has roots through Tuskegee. So I have to take that privilege to say that that's a serious point of pride and honor for us to have you here, sir. Dr. Luther Williams, I didn't want to steal your introduction thunder, but I am a Tuskegee girl. I am a STEM girl, and I had to just stop for a moment and throw that shameless plug. But we certainly thank you because you have also blazed trails there at Tuskegee University, and I know that my feet are falling in those trails as well. So thank you, sir, for being here. There are many, including Ms. Antoinette, who have come to grace us with history, with meaning for the future. And when I say Miss Antoinette, probably most of you know who I mean. You may not. Miss Antoinette is Dr. Frederick's wife, and she is, you will know her. When you meet her, you will instantly know her. That's Miss Antoinette. So to all, let's get ready for an exceptional 78th annual meeting of the Association of Southeastern Biologists. Thank you, and again, welcome to the capital city.
The next person that I'd like to welcome to the stage is Dr. Stephen Taylor, who's the Dean of College of Arts and Sciences at Troy University.
Good evening. I'm very happy to be able to share the stage with our College of ASU and welcome you all to Montgomery for this meeting of your association. I am Stephen Taylor, Dean of Arts and Sciences at Troy University. I'm actually a fairly new dean. I've just celebrated about a year in the job. No one told me I would be talking to biologists when I got the job. I am a political scientist by trade, so I don't have quite the same commonality. Nonetheless, although I learned very quickly that there are things you have to learn when you're the Dean of Arts and Sciences that biology has to teach you, such as when the cadaver lab gets too hot, that's a problem. Nonetheless, those of you who know about Troy University, we're a regional comprehensive university located about an hour south of here, although we have 4 campuses in Alabama, including one just a few blocks from the hotel. We have about 8,000 students on the main campus and about 18,000 enrollment total in our various institutions, including online. And we're very pleased to be helping to sponsor this event. Scholarship and teaching are very important to us, and this kind of event I think is very important. It's fostering those values. I was trying to think of, as an administrator of political science, what could I say to this organization? As an administrator, and I'm still having a hard time with that one, right? I'm on the dark side now. I'm an administrator. I value very heavily the synergy between the research and teaching, and I think these kinds of events are very important for that, for faculty development, for student development. And I think very much that our exploration of ideas and the dissemination of knowledge is so important, not just for the academic scholarly pursuits that seem so abstract sometimes, but also to enrich the lives of our students. I think this is a very valuable event. And as a political scientist, I'm aware, and as an administrator, of the pressures that are being put on higher education across the land, asking the question, is it worth it to go to college? What about some of this research that people don't entirely understand? I looked at, if I had to pick a title from the program, and I picked one of my own faculty, actually the co-authored paper about the differing appearances of starch granules in waxy and starchy potatoes. I have no idea what that means, I don't know what a potato is. But we often see maybe members of Congress talk about they don't understand this fruit fire research or whatever the case may be. But this pursuit of the building blocks of knowledge, and these kinds of events help foster that, and it's very, very valuable and very, very important. So I applaud you for being present. I think it's also very important. Just the entire idea of coming together and sharing ideas across institutions is key. I myself was last weekend was in North Carolina at a conference of Latin Americanists, trying to keep my toe in scholarly activities. And I must confess that just talking about the importance of these events came to me as what I could bring to you to sort of reinforce that. And it was kind of a boring time when I was sitting and I had to think about something to do. That happens. Hopefully this happens much this weekend, these couple of days. So again, I
Changing name of our plenary speaker back and forth over the last couple of months. The road to get here has been uneven and at times uncertain. I want to personally thank Dr. Williams for his willingness to help ASB and to help Dr. Frederick in any way that he could to ensure the needs of our association were met this year. Dr. Williams retired from Tuskegee University in 2013, having served as Professor of Biology, Director of Integrated Bioscience PhD Program, Dean of Graduate Studies, and the Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. He was a distinguished Professor of Biology and Provost Executive Vice President. Prior to joining Tuskegee University in 2006, he served as the William T. Kemper Director of Education and Interpretation at the Missouri Botanical Garden. In his career, he's authored over 80 publications in professional scientific journals and more than 30 articles and reports addressing science, math, engineering, and technology education and bioethics. His list of awards is extensive. He received the Presidential Meritorious Executive Rank Award and the Presidential Distinguished Executive Rank Award from the U.S. government. Dr. Williams received the first award by the National Commission for African American Education and was inducted into the Black College Foundation Hall of Fame. He was elected to the board of the George Washington Carver Birthplace Association and George Washington Carver National Monument, and received the Presidential Citation by the National Association for Equal Opportunity in Higher Education. He was named one of the 50 most important blacks in research science research by Spectrum magazine in 2005, and he was a recipient of the Catalytic Award for Systematic Change by Quality Education of Minorities. From 2007 to 2009, he served as a member of the National Advisory Council for National Center for Minority Health Disparity, NIH, and as a member of the NIH Council of Councils. Dr. Williams is obviously a special person who has had an exceptional career, and I honestly can't thank him enough for his time and dedication to ASB and coming here tonight to introduce to you Dr. Frederick. And I guess the last thing I'll say is Dr. Frederick took Dr. Williams to his first meeting some number of years ago.
Hello. Thank you very much for the introduction. You did actually preview one of the points I desired to make. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to introduce Dr. Lafayette Frederick, with whom I've had a long-standing personal and professional relationship that commenced at Atlanta University, which is now Clark Atlanta University, a long time ago, 1962, at which time he was a professor in the chair of the department, and I was a second-year MS degree graduate student. Owing to his urging, that's not the appropriate descriptor, I attended the first meeting of the ASBC annual meeting, which was held in Gainesville, Florida, along with 2 other students. It was an interesting experience in 2 regards, including several members of the local community doing a reception at the Holiday Inn one evening, welcomed us to, the 3 of us, the 2 fellow African Americans, myself, to Gainesville, Florida. I'll leave the rest of that for your imagination. It was 1962. That was unrelated to the meeting, because it was the beginning of a very important experience. The very next year, 1973, your annual meeting was at Emory University. Some of you will have to look in the archives to make that determination. And again, Dr. Frederick insisted that we attend, and I and several other students made poster presentations, well, actually sessions presentation. So your association had a similar role in my early career development. In the program, there's a description of Dr. Frederick's early life in rural Mississippi, then southern Missouri, where he attended elementary school, was taught by his father. He was, as is true with a variety of other individuals, he was enormously inspired by the work and life of George Washington Carver, and he entered what was then Tuskegee Institute at the age of 16. So he either didn't go to high school, middle school, or at least some of those. But I understand how the process occurred. That was a period when students in general of enormous talent belied school years. He pursued a technical degree in technical agriculture. And as an undergraduate, he met a very interesting person, Harold Room, that I'll speak about later, who introduced Dr. Frederick to botany. After Tuskegee, anticipating the military draft, he moved to the state of Washington and was employed as an electrical assistant. He finally entered the Navy in 1944, was stationed at Pearl Harbor, and he worked as an architectural draftsman. When I was a graduate student, all of the students, when we submitted work to Dr. Frederick, it would come back with this elegantly scripted writing, which bore no relationship to our ability to write. And I wondered if that was the function of being someone who studied botany. If so, I was not going to become a botanist. But now, finally, when I was putting together this information, Fred, I understand where you learned this. You had an architectural experience. Interesting. Upon completion of military service, he remained in Hawaii and studied and conducted botanical research for several years. He subsequently received a master's degree from the University of Rhode Island and a PhD from Washington State University in Pullman. His thesis focused on the fungal development systematics, especially the ecology of myxomycetes. After he completed postdoctoral studies at both Cornell, University of Illinois, and Michigan, the individual I mentioned at Tuskegee, Dr. Harold Romm, who had mentored him, introduced him to biology, recruited Fred to the biology department of Southern University in Baton Rouge as assistant professor, and he remained there for 10 years. His accomplishments included development of biology concentration in the department, and it is at that institution that you will learn later that he initiated his long service of mentoring African American students in the botanical and life sciences in general. He organized another index of his professional attributes. He organized a biology honors chapter for students, and you will see that this pervaded throughout his career. And I'll pause now and make this comment. What, in my judgment, distinguishes him from most is not that he involved himself with large numbers of students. Rather, he mentored them. And mentoring does not mean it's not some nebulous, ill-defined social transaction. It requires a knowledge base. It requires some understanding of the variables and what are the predominant variables if, in fact, one is going to be effective in it. The second point is that Dr. Frederick disallowed the notion that pedestrian academic performance was a virtue. So it's not surprising that he was very much involved in organizing entities like honor societies that assign primacy to the most splendid performers. Even though he was in the university faculty, he was very concerned with the quality of K-12 education, and for several years he ran what were then NSF-funded summer and academic institutes for elementary as well as high school teachers, and in that duration advanced from assistant associate to full professor. As I alluded to prior, he served for 14 years as a professor and chairman of the biology department at Atlanta University. There he also developed botany concentration. He established a high-quality electron microscopy facility that advantaged the work of scores of students and research colleagues. He formed an honor society for students, and he did not restrict it to Atlanta University. He insisted the students should include the students from the 4 undergraduate schools, Morehouse, Spelman, Morris Brown, and Clark College at that time. His tenure at Atlanta University was distinguished in 2 additional regards. Having, my characterization, having integrated the ASB earlier, he decided to employ it to the resounding benefit myself and others, that's my reference earlier, required participation. And he accelerated his noteworthy mentoring of students. During the latter stages of his tenure at Atlanta, he served as a visiting professor at the Department of Microbiology, University of Georgia at Athens. He then joined Howard University as a professor and the chairman of the department. He directed an NIH minority research to career access program focused on training excellent students. After a long tenure as a department head, he served for a period of time as an acting dean of the College of Liberal Arts. And upon his retirement as an emeritus professor, I would argue that the only thing that changed was his title, because he went to the university each day and continued to do his research, published on a regular basis, substantially into the 21st century. In introducing me, there was some reference to my work, my administrative responsibilities at Tuskegee. So several years ago, he affirmed directly with me his commitment in retirement to sustain research. He shows up in my office to finalize his appointment to come to Tuskegee after leaving Howard as a second emeritus professor. And I thought we would have a conversation about his office, which I expected him to only rarely visit. Rather, he shows up with a sophisticated, state-of-the-art microscope that was delivered by his son and explaining to me how it was going to be used consequentially in his ongoing research. A few days later, he returned with a young woman who was his graduate student. She was a Howard student who now was going to continue her research at Tuskegee and receive a degree from Howard. So he at least, in my view, redefined the definition of emeritus. This work, incidentally, is absolutely fascinating. I had heard a research presentation of it earlier, but he isolated a derivative of a mutant of neurospora that has, back to the ones of you conversing with this, that has enormous bactericidal potential. And she has done very, very elaborate molecular analysis to understand what genes were mutated in the basis of it. And it has enormous scientific, and I would argue even commercial application. It'd be interesting to ask him 2 years from now, what's the state of that research? Because I know she's still around. He is a member of a long-standing member of an array of professional societies that is given. I won't make reference to the ASPC, but that includes president of the Georgia Academy of Sciences, vice president of the Southern Appalachian Club, membership in the American Institute of Biological Sciences, AAAS, Botanical Society of America, the Mycologist Society of America, etc., etc. He's received obviously numerous honors and awards and recognitions. Some of those mentioned in your program I would not cite, but I would emphasize several others. He's a Hollow and honorary degree in science and a distinguished alumni award from the University of Rhode Island, from which he received his master's degree. He received the Botanical Society of America's Merit Award, the Georgia Academy of Sciences Award. There's a species of a Hawaiian shrub that is named for him. It was done in his honor by Harold Sir James, former chairman of the biology department at that university. And I know he's been the subject of an award from this association. The individual I've attempted to at least offer snippets of his incredible career obviously is an individual for whom your reference to my commendation belie the deeply forged colleagueship, a word that I use to represent an augmentation of mentor, friend, someone I idolize. he is, in my judgment, comparatively unique among human resource production, not only in the biological sciences, but in science and engineering in general. Consider the following. Over his career, he has mentored, including direct supervision in most cases of the thesis work of in excess of 40 African American scientists in one field. Imagine that the majority of those individuals enter the academy, and then you multiply that by the number of individuals that they have impacted. And given that he's had the fortune of a very long career, one could even push this intergenerational comparison to the third group, as Lafayette Frederick, to whom I present.
Well, thank you much, Dr. Williams. Actually, I had intended to include Dr. Williams in my talk as the poster child of my talk. He kind of turned this around because I wasn't supposed to be the poster child of any talk, really. But here I am. And I want to say that it's quite an honor, really, to be invited to give a plenary election for this 178th meeting of the Association of Southeastern Biologists. When I received the invitation first, back in October, I wasn't sure just what I would be expected to talk about. I figured that you didn't want any update on what's happening in the world of the sign holes. It was indicated that perhaps I might give some attention to how ASB has impacted on developing the skills, the occupations, the developments of a group of underserved students in the Southeast. And as a consequence, along with several others, I decided to put this together. But at the start, that is soon thereafter, in January, because of some serious medical problems, I thought that I was not going to be able to do that. And I asked Luther if he would be patient for me, and he willingly agreed to do that. And that's one of the reasons why the two of us are here on this stage. But before I launch into the comments I want to make, I want to pay tribute to an ASB member of long-standing and of long involvement, and that's John Herr. So I would like for you to take just a moment of silence for John Herr. Thank you. When I see John Herr and Lucretia at meetings, I would wonder, I always say, that's the most handsome couple that they had at this ASB meeting, who have been awarded the second John Herr Award at the last meeting of ASB. Now, the comments that I'm going to make, and I've got a little grip sheet here, so I won't run off schedule, was that when I started as a graduate student, not a graduate student, when I graduated from Tuskegee Institute in 1943, I knew nothing absolutely about any kind of a scientific organization. My major was agriculture with a minor in biology. I knew nothing absolutely about any scientific journals. I had read some of the pamphlets and that Dr. Carver had written, but I knew nothing about regular scientific journals. Now, that was in 1943. And I didn't become aware of scientific journals and scientific journals really until I was a part-time graduate student studying native Hawaiian plants a number of years ago. And on one of the field trips I was taking one Sunday in a gulch in the Waianae Mountains, I ran across a small tree. I knew what it looked like, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. I took it back to investigate, and I couldn't identify the species. So then I turned it over to my Dr. St. John, who was the chairman of the department. And he looked at it, he says, you know, this is a new species of Indus genus. So we then published it. That was my first publication. I was co-author of the description of a new species, a small Hawaiian tree, that apparently is endemic to that particular gulch out in the Waianae Mountains. Now, my next encounter, of course, with scientific organizations was really after I left Hawaii and went to University of Rhode Island to complete work for the master's degree. There I became under the influence of Dr. Vernon Cheadle, who was dean of graduate school and head of botany, and Dr. Frank Howard, who was a distinguished plant pathologist, and I was going to do my work under Dr. Howard. But before leaving Hawaii, I had been introduced to some strange little things as I saw them that a fellow by the name of Don Philip Rogers, one of the renowned mycologists, was collecting. And I discovered those things called fungi. And I thought, well, what I want to do is to do some kind of research that will contribute to the knowledge of this group of organisms called fungi. And Dr. Cheadle suggested that I attend the AAAS meetings that Christmas. They were being held in New York City. So I went down and then I became familiar with organizations like the Botanical Society of America, the American Phytographers Association, organizations like that, which I knew nothing previously about. Then later on, after completing my work there at Rhode Island and going on to Washington State for the PhD degree, then I decided I was invited to become a member of the faculty at Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Well, the chairman of the department suggested that I start a major program, major concentration. And I was pleased to do this. So I had 3 students in my first group of students who were majors in biology. One of them, I'll go back to the first one. The first one there was this great deal of old Collins. Now, Collins came from a little town in Plaisance, Louisiana. And in taking the course in botany with me, he decided he would do his work in botany. Collins went on to get a PhD degree at the University of Iowa, became a very distinguished and international renowned authority on the genetics of the genetics of slime molds. The fact of the matter is, he was the one who clearly demonstrated, without question, that the slime molds were heterophilic organisms and not homophilic organisms. My major professor, Frank Howard, while at Harvard, was the first to demonstrate that clearly mitosis occurred in slime mold plasmodium. But Ray Collins became renowned, really, for his work in the genetics of slime molds. He became chairman of the Department of Botany at Berkeley, and also dean of the graduate, associate dean of the graduate school at Berkeley. The next person, I'm on the wrong way. The next person in that group was George Williams. George Williams got his degree from Southern, went on to get a PhD degree in plant physiology, University of New Hampshire, became chair of the Department of Biology at Southern University, and is still there, more or less semi-retired. The third person that was with me was William Harrison, who did his master's degree and advanced degree, worked for the PhD degree at Washington State, but opened up in Massachusetts in environmental sciences consultancy instead of continuing on at the doctorate level. So those are my first three students. This was pre-ASB, however. Now, this begins to tell you about some of the other students. After I left Southern and went to Atlanta, I discovered that students, although graduate students, had never attended a scientific meeting. So therefore, I was going to attend the ASB meetings that spring. But before that, the way I became familiar with ASB, when ASB had its annual meeting at LSU back around 1953 or sometime like that, Dr. Henderson from Tuskegee flew over to Baton Rouge, landed in a field near the airport. I had not met him, but then we met afterwards. And he flew over in order to attend and present a paper at the meetings of LSU, when he went to register, he was denied permission to register. So that's when that was my first time hearing about the Association of Scientific Biologists. Dr. Henderson decided that he would not participate any longer in the program for ASB. But I didn't know what ASB was because I had no contact with it. But a little later on, I was asked, after developing an honors program at Southern, I was asked to apply, who would apply for a certificate or a chapter status in Phi Beta. Well, I was interested in Phi Sigma, but Phi Sigma, of course, is mostly graduate. There was no graduate study at that time at Southern. So we submitted an application for Phi Beta, and we were reviewed, and that application was approved, and we had chapter status in Phi Beta. The president of Phi Beta was Dr. Menke at LSU, and he suggested, he said, well, you know, the Phi Beta regents meet annually with the Association of Scientists and Biologists. You should participate in that, and that these meetings will become this coming April. Well, I said, well, fine. So I had an undergraduate student who was working with me on an anatomical problem. And so I got that student together with two other students and a colleague. And we went to the meetings, the annual meetings in Tallahassee at that time. Well, we registered, we participated in the sessions, but the banquet had to be canceled. So there was no banquet for that meeting. Because, of course, social activities like that could not be integrated. So the banquet was canceled, and instead, an auditorium like this was a place where the past president gave his address and where all awards were presented. Well, so, but from then on, my colleagues, either myself and my colleagues from Southern, have participated in ASB activities. Now, so we integrated the ASB in 1958. Well, in 1963, though, when I went to Atlanta, and I found out that the graduate students there had never been to a meeting, and I knew that ASB meetings were very good. They were very good meetings for first presentations and otherwise. So I asked 3 students who were there, graduate students. 2 of them were my students. Luther Williams was in his 7th year. So I asked Luther Williams and Ben Shepard and F.C. Richardson to go with me down to Gainesville, Florida, to the annual meetings of AAAS in Gainesville. So we went down there for that. We had accommodations on the campus. We didn't have accommodations off campus. But they met graduate students from Emory, University of Georgia, and others, and were impressed with the kind of work they were doing. And they had excellent interchange, and then they wanted to continue on with this interchange after the meetings were over. Well, there was an incident, though, that occurred at that meeting, because as you know, as many of you old timers know, the social on that Thursday morning was sponsored by some scientific organization. Well, they were sponsored, I think, at Holiday Inn there in Gainesville. Well, Luther and Ben Shepard and F.C. Richardson had met these students from Emory and all, and they said, "Oh, come on, let's all go to this social." They didn't know what social was over with everybody. So they went, and it was not. It was not really. They were not really fully accepted by being there. But they integrated. That was they integrated for the first time. The Thursday evening social. Well, that next year, the ASB met at Emory, and I said, "Well, now you folks will have to get ready and give presentations at this next ASB meeting." So 3 students did. Luther was one. F.C. Richardson, who I mentioned again, was another. And Luther's wife, Connie, she was working with me on a fungal problem. She was working in classifying the skin from the So the 3 of them gave papers for the first time at that meeting at Emory. And then afterwards, I received a note from Purdue saying if you have a student that you think you could recommend for graduate study at Purdue, we'd like to have you do that. Well, so I encouraged Luther to apply. Now the thing is, Luther's background is this. He came from a small, unaccredited college in Birmingham known as Miles College. At the time he came to Atlanta University, no schools, no major schools, South or otherwise, but it gave him a look. He was not among those who many recruiters, when they come to the campuses now, say, "Please give me the names of your best and brightest." But I knew he was good. But you see, at that time, he would not have been considered best or brightest. But after completing his work there at AU, he decided he would go ahead and apply to Purdue. And of course, the rest is history. And I won't go through all of that because he has become one of the most outstanding graduates of Purdue. He came in on the ground floor of the tide of the new biology, molecular biology. Henry Garfield was changing the whole face of general biology at Purdue at that time. He came in on the floor at that time, and as you know from now, that he just really a stellar career was launched, which has continued on, and I'll have a little bit more to say about that a little later on. So he and his wife were there at Purdue. Connie became an accomplished electron microscopist, and one of the papers that she was co-author was reading an abstract that was widely quoted because it was a seminal paper on how the tips of fungal hyphae grow. How at the tips of a fungal hyphae you get an assemblage of vesicles, and then these vesicles end up making up a structure that creates the tip of a hyphae structure, and that's a seminal abstract really that has been that was published at that time. And of course, since that time, many have studied fungal hyphae growth and have referred back to this similar work. Well, she did the electron microscopy for that, and then she taught electron microscopy some other places. Now, of course, after Luther got his degree from Purdue, he, of course, he did a postdoc at Stony Brook. But as you can see from his bio, he has held positions in many places and has been highly regarded in many, many ways. Now, the other person, one of the other persons who was in that three that integrated the meetings was Ben Shepherd. As you can see his picture over there. Ben Shepherd, degree from Tougaloo College, small college just outside of Jackson, Mississippi. Got a master's degree from Lamb University. Ultimately went on to Kansas State, got a PhD degree. Became a professor of Southern University in Illinois University, and became chancellor of Southern University, of Southern Illinois University. The other person, of the three was F.C. Richardson. F.C. Richardson was a graduate of Rusk College in Holly Springs, Mississippi. And Rusk, he decided that he wanted to do work in botany, and did a master's degree with me, went on to University of California in Santa Barbara for his PhD degree. F.C. Richardson has had a distinguished career. He was chairman for a while of Indiana University Gatorade. He was president of Buffalo State College. He retired more recently as chancellor of Indiana University, New Albany. So he's had a distinguished career. Those three were in. This is Constance Williams. This is the wife of Luther Williams. And you see, she had a master's degree and did further study. Now, John Ruffin. John, as the director of a program for the disadvantaged, for underserved, and a $7 million program that is sponsored by the NIH. So he's been responsible one of the NIH areas, and that's John Ruffin. Another person is Paulette Gray. Paulette Gray is a Tuskegee State graduate. Did a master's degree with me. Gave her first paper in New Orleans at the New Orleans meeting of ASB. She's gone on to do extremely well and serves right now as director of interview research for the National Cancer Institute at the NIH. Joseph White. Joseph White is an Alabama State U graduate who came to Atlanta University, wanted to do his work with me, did his work on a fungal problem, went on from there to Washington State, where he continued to work on the fungi. From Washington State, he had intended to return to Alabama State to teach, but Chevron Chemical Company persuaded him to take a position with them in their ortho division, which is the division for pesticides. He took a position there. He moved up from that position to become vice president at Apple Laboratories, and then he moved from there to be international research director for some other research laboratories. That's Joseph Council White. Matthew George came from Wiley College in Texas. Now, when Luther was with us, spent a year or two with us at Atlanta University, he persuaded the
Macy Foundation.
what?
Josiah Macy.
Yeah, just the Mason Foundation. He persuaded the Mason Foundation to sponsor some special summer programs for what would seem to be promising undergraduate students. So that summer, one of the persons in that program was Matthew George. He stayed on, got a degree at Atlanta University, and then a PhD at the University of California, Santa Barbara, California. He worked on evolutionary relationships as they can be seen and viewed among horses. So he's working that kind of a problem. But he's now chairman of the Department of Biochemistry at Howard University. Another person who was in that same program was Yolanda. And so she became Yolanda George. And and this is Yolanda George. Now, some of you may recognize her because she heads up one of the big agencies for the AAAS. She heads up one of that, Yolanda George. Yolanda George came out of that particular program. Two others, another person who was a high school teacher really, and Florida A&M graduate, came to us. He had been a high school teacher, came to us in a program that I directed for the National Science Foundation, Larry Shannon. Larry Shannon got his PhD degree from Ohio State University in environmental science. His wife, who was really a Spelman College graduate, she was available to Charles before Chandler. She got her degree also from Kansas State University in animal behavior. And they both have had distinguished careers on college faculties. And now the two of them are administrators at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. Lena Austin. This is my first PhD student. She did her work in the electron microscopy of a wall structure of the rostrum. And then she went on to do postdoctorate for 2 years at the Medical College of Virginia, because she wanted to become a medical oncologist. And she became a medical oncologist. One of the very few persons who were medical oncologists. She, of course, as you can see, she did her work, PhD degree at Atlanta University, and postdoctorate at Medical College of Virginia. Still a position at Howard University, the College of Medicine, but she also did a couple of years or more research at the Aberdeen Proving Grounds, where she was working on the effect of certain drugs on the development of infants. She is just retired really from Howard University. So that's one of my first PhD students. Agnes Day is on the faculty at Howard University. She is a graduate of two Goodman College and is a professor of microbiology. She's outstanding now because she has been involved in a number of research projects, one of which was featured in Science magazine, and then she was also the recipient of the Principal Award from the American Society of Microbiology. Georgia Dunston is a graduate of Norfolk State, master's in tuskegee, PhD from University of Michigan. She's also in the Department of Microbiology at Howard University. Most distinguished person, especially as it relates to certain health problems that involve minorities. And she received several awards. There was an article about her in Science magazine a couple of years or so ago about the kind of work that she was doing. Betty Ruth Jones. Betty Ruth came from Rutgers College. I was there on a site visit one time, and that's where I met Betty Ruth Jones and some others. She was interested in graduate school, so we had invited her to come to Atlanta University. She did. She got degrees, as you can see, from Atlanta University. Has been involved in a number of activities that she has either developed herself or that she has been a participant of over the years. Elaine Davis was at one time a vice president of ASB. She received her degree from St. Augustine's College in North Carolina. Has held professorships, as you can see, at Morgan State, Morehouse, and at Bowie State. She's recently retired. I mentioned Geraldine Twitty because some of you may remember Geraldine Twitty. For a number of years, she was extremely active with ASB. So she was not a former student in the league. So she was a colleague from Howard, but she came. I introduced her to ASB, and she became a very active person with the Association of Scientists and Biologists. Geraldine Twitty is now retired. Now, we have a whole lot of additional graduates for ASB students, and I can run down that whole list, but I won't, of course. But I do want to mention a few. One name that I didn't mention when I talked about the group that went with me to the first Tri-Beta meeting in Gainesville was a very bright young lady from Dallas, Texas. Now, she was truly bright and one of the best. She decided that she wanted to do her work in plant biology. So she did. She did she was in that group that integrated at Tallahassee. She did her work with me from the BS degree. And then she wanted to go into cell biology. Well, I wanted her to study under Harriet Creighton at Wellesley. But Harriet Creighton was said that she was no longer taking on graduate students. So then I said, well, okay, the geneticists at NM University, why not apply there for admission? Or apply to Raleigh and Yale. She applied to both places, was accepted both places, offered research assistantships. Ultimately, she decided on Yale. Her name was May Hill. May Hill went to Yale to do graduate study. But she got married, and her husband was down in Washington, D.C., and didn't want her to continue on for her graduate degree. So she petitioned Yale. Yale had 3 programs. You would get a master's degree in 1 year if you could pass Cahill petitioned to be given that opportunity. She took the exam and passed it and could receive her master's degree at Yale. She taught at Howard for a while, then went on to Catholic University to get a back PhD degree in cell biology. She went from there to New Hampshire for a while, but she was in the Department of Botany at the University of New Hampshire. She left there, married a Norwegian, and has been living in Norway now for the past, 25 years or more. But May Catholic was truly one that you would have rated initially as one of the best and one of the brightest. Now there's several others that I could mention over there, but I know the time is really up, and I won't bother to go through that list. But I want to point out, if you're not familiar with some HBCUs in the Southeast region, many of them you've never heard of. Morris College, for instance. Out of Morris College, I had a student to come, and he decided he wanted to do his work in botany, some aspect of plant taxonomy. Knew nothing about taxonomy or botany really at that time. He decided to work ultimately on a problem on particular slime molds, and did his PhD on that group. Then he was hired by the Forest Service. Now, his name was Pendergrass. Pendergrass recently retired as senior botanist for the U.S. Forest Service. And he came out of a little Morris College, which you never heard of. Another person who came out of Morris College, who was vice president at Morgan State, was Peyton. Peyton I had Peyton attend sessions at Harvard, and then also as an intern in the White House in Washington, D.C. There are several others that I should mention, but I won't take the time to do that. That is several other schools that I should mention. But you can see that these are schools in the Southeast, out of which a number of students have graduated. If they haven't been given the opportunity to really exploit their talents, then they don't, there's no progress for them. And heretofore, progress has been very limited in majority schools. Well, these majority schools were in the Southeast, the Northwest, or wherever we were in the country. Now, so I want to close this by acknowledging some people. Well, I've already acknowledged Mr. Williams, you know about him, and his accomplishments. So now, he is arguably one of the brightest, most articulate molecular biologists in the country. And his appointments certainly reinforce that assessment of his abilities and his achievements. The persons who have helped me on this project, the real technical assistants just walked in a few minutes ago, and that's Sherry Knight, has a PhD from Howard, and has been looking for either postdoctorate or regular faculty position. So Sherry Knight. Then, of course, as I mentioned, my wife Ann and my son David Frederick. So I close this by saying this: if you're looking for graduate students in your program, and you go into the school and say, "Send me your best and your brightest," that's a mistake, because everyone, I guess, wants the best and the brightest. Most of us were not the best and brightest at that time. And if not given the chance, we would not have achieved. So a person doesn't have to have a 3.4 or 5 average to achieve. A person may become outstanding with a 2.7. Don't look for or ask for necessarily to send me your best and brightest. Have your students who you think have real promise and have shown capability to now apply. And then if, of course, if given this opportunity, if given a chance, now for instance, as I mentioned before, who would ever have thought of giving Luther Williams a chance? No one.
Say that differently.
But here he is. So that's why I ask you, don't ask for the best and the brightest. So I'll close this little talk with the parody. Yeah, I'll close this with a parody from Thomas Brady's Elegy in a Country Churchyard. And I see I don't have a copy of my parody here. Let me see if I can find it. So, and since I didn't memorize it, I cannot give you the benefits of my paraphrasing his elegy in the country churchyard. But of course it goes like this, his elegy. Full many gem of purest ray serene, the dark, unfathomed caves of ocean red. Full many flower remains to blush unseen and waste its fragrance in the desert air. This is the kind of a thing that has happened, that full many a person with real capabilities, but the unseen, and their life and the possibilities of them, then it's never materialized. So that's my closing statement from Thomas Brady's Elegy in a Country Churchyard. Yes, we can answer questions. I have to say that if you ask a question, come up closer so that I can hear, or else have someone here interpret, tell me what the question was so that I can respond. So if there are any questions.
I'll come close, Dr. Frederick. You have had an amazing record of bringing out the best in people. Can you hear me?
In bringing out the best in people.
Pardon?
I said you have had an amazing record of bringing out the best in students. For all of the mentors here that want to emulate what you've done? What's your advice? How can we do that? How can we find those and bring out the best in students?
Well, I don't know that it's a matter of finding them, really. It's a matter of inviting students to consider their worth, and it's a matter of serving as a role model also. That here, look, you can do exactly what I've done. If you put your mind to it, and if you don't mind working hard. So it's not an easy matter to, let's say, identify those students. They have to come to you. Someone has to refer them to you, so that you will know that this student has the capability, wants to do work, and can do well if given the opportunity. So you have to be motivated. Then the other thing is, you've got to provide a climate, let's say, within your area that tends to want students to gravitate, in a sense, to your area, to find out what you're doing. I was talking to our 4 students about 2 or 3 months ago. I was asking a special lecture, and all 4 were just amazed when they found out what kind of work, what kind of research projects there are, what kind of work can be done, and were interested in going ahead to pursue work in those areas. Well, it's a matter of, in a sense, of introducing students to new areas, and then encouraging them to follow through, develop their talents, and continue on to complete graduate studies.
Of course, I get the microphone. Hi, wonderful talk. I really enjoyed it. So it seems that many of your mentees have gone on to higher leadership roles. And I was curious, is that something you actively encourage, or did they just learn through your example?
That's it.
Okay. Many of your students went on to be very impressive leaders in their field and taking on very high roles of leadership within their universities. Did you actively encourage that within your training experience, or did you actually just let them learn by your example?
Well, the thing is, I just looked and saw that this person has potential. Now, for instance, I just said quickly a little story about Ray Collins, and how I found out that Ray Collins had some ability and some interest. Ray Collins was taking my freshman botany course, and I had given an exam in which I had asked the students to label the parts of a leaf. And you know how we talk about the apex and the margin and that sort of thing, and the bases. Well, he had checked the base of the petiole, and I had marked it wrong. So he said, well, now look, isn't the petiole a part of the leaf? I said, yes, it is. Well, then why isn't it the base instead of the base that you were talking about? Well, when I heard that, I knew here's a student with real promise. And of course, as I mentioned, he went on to become chair of the Department of Art at Berkeley.
I have an addendum to this explanation. I'm not sure that this was by design, but clearly one of the things that happened to me and many of my colleagues in the interaction with Dr. Frederick. First of all, he spoke about the period of time that we were students under supervision. That had absolutely nothing to do with the continuation of the relationship. He sustained the relationship. 20 years later, you still thought you were a student. But one of his very powerful take-home messages is that whatever you were doing had to be consequential. So many of us recognize that if you really wanted to increment your individual effort by more than your individual domain, your individual laboratory, you had to actually have a role in administration. So that's in part was a driver. In some cases it was fortuitous, but I do know that I know the origin of that notion. I tried to indicate that in a few snippets, the role he played in Atlanta University. He was the chairman of the biology department, but that does not begin to describe his influence. Lafayette Frederick was the leader of the biosciences in that center, which included 5 institutions.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, you know, one of the things that I picked up on and that I think hit home with me during Dr. Frederick's talk is that we're all here because somebody brought us here. And getting here is really the battle, and we're getting here for the first time. And once you come here for the first time, I think ASB changes you. It changed all of us, and we just keep coming back. And I think that you can see that thread in Dr. Frederick's life's work. And I think that that's a perfect segue to think about the diversity committee that exists in our association. And about a month ago, they submitted a proposal to the executive committee to fund the Dr. Lafayette Frederick Student Support Award that's targeted at broadening participation of underrepresented groups in biological sciences and getting those students to ASB. So with that, I'd sincerely like to thank these 2 gentlemen again, Drs. Frederick and Drs. Williams, and we'll conclude the plenary and mix and mingle right outside. Thank you again.
Pop did a good job. He did a real good job. I stole a seat under
Well, I'm still at the University of South Carolina.
You might have expended all the
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I didn't want
Okay. So, I just want to make sure I asked.
I want to get a picture of so much of you know.
honor. My goodness, are you kidding me?
Yeah, you can actually make a cut.
That's an honor for me.
So if you want to speak this That's what John Earl
I hear we have a photo op.
I'll see you later.
My goodness, I have to say I was quite inspired. And I'm not just saying that. I was very moved. It's amazing to see the
both to look right here, right quick? 1, 2, 3. One more with your camera. Right here. 1, 2, 3.
So much. I'm just so.
Just wanted to say
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Glad you're here.
Let me get one more with my with this camera. 1, 2, 3. Did we get that? Got it.
What story? Makes me Well, at that time, Atlanta University ran summer schools. So, they had a separate application. If you applied to Atlanta University and you were accepted in summer school, then you were essentially accepted to Atlanta University. Well, so that fall, when he showed up, I could find no record, no transcript. In fact, he had exceedingly and had not completed his undergraduate. But he came along, working on a fungal physiology problem, and came home, my minority, on the back, after the full-time church at the United.
Just.
You ready, Granddad?
Outstanding. Thanks. Let me get out of the way here. I don't want to. I just have so enjoyed listening to you talk.
Thank you.
And I'm so appreciative that you decided to come back to us and tell us about all of this. It was really
Don't
wonderful.
put your foot in the boot, okay?
Yeah, let me put my.
And y'all don't need any help from us?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, Granddad. All right, go ahead. Let it down. You can set it down. Go ahead. Does that feel good?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay. All right.